Hello, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are on your personal screen. And with us in the show, and on a very, very special moment. So, congratulations that you joined us and not somebody else, and that you are with us and our guests. Today, we have an arrangement of vivid speaking customers about their experiences with SugarCRM. And the starting point will do John Williams, if I'm not mistaken. And we will learn about his experiences from life in color. And later we will have probably another customer speaking to my agenda. No, we have a change of plans.
Like you needed to bail out.
we have then a bit more time.
It's fair enough.
We have some more chances to talk with John and later with Paul Farrell, the Chief Product Officer you saw in our advertisement. Now, over to you, John. I'm curious. Can you give us, as Thomas suggested, in 10 words, an elevator pitch on what WFG is and what you do?
Okay. WFG, we're a national underwriter, title insurance underwriter, where we help facilitate the real estate transaction. And what we try to do is, as a national underwriter, provide the best customer service possible to our customers while taking the time and cost out of the real estate transaction. And then my role at WFG is I'm a program manager, and with the help of myself and our team that we have put together, assure that our sales and marketing systems are in place enough to allow anyone that interacts with the customer information to that data so they can share and contribute to that data. Even though it all starts with sales, we have many other entities within our group, within WFG, that touch the customer. So we want to make sure that everybody touches the customer, uses CRM, and gets value out of it.
No.
How do you reach your customers? Are you not generally linked through back?
Well, actually, it's what we are. I probably should preface that thing with 10 words, kind of slow me down a little bit.
Should have given you 30.
We still probably needed 30 for this because we're in a rather unique industry. We're more in a relationship business. So, we deal with the title insurance world in many of the states. We're dealing with promulgated rates and everything. So our competitors and us, everybody's selling the same product for the same dollar amount. So all we have is a relationship. The relationship with our underwriters, the relationship with our sales team, and our back office support.
Got it.
So to answer your question, so it all comes to that. So it's very much based on relationship, word of mouth, and we have to be very conscious that we don't upset the customer, with bad service or something like that, because once you start to lose that customer, it's hard to get it back.
Well said. And that leads naturally into our next question, which is how does CRM software help your top 3 challenges?
Probably it keeps our sales team focused. Which salespeople tend to be squirrels, so it lets us stay focused on what they're doing and how they're doing it. So that's the first piece about that. Where they are. I'm trying not to get to the AI piece yet, but where they've been and where they need to go. So we've got that. It enhances our marketing efforts, and much past the ability of not just be able to send emails out or marketing collateral to say, here's this, or look how many we sent, look how many read it, but be able to take that information and generate warm leads back to our sales team. And in addition to that, find out what information our customers are engaged in, help identify what their needs are. So we'll use marketing for that rather than do that. And thirdly, through the use of AI, be able to sift through these mountains of data that we've created. And now, since we've been piloting in the accounts module, the generative AI that Sugar has to offer, we're starting to see where this mountains of data are able to give a salesperson a very easy conversation to have when going to meet with that customer. Or even for an upper level person in management to go in, because they go, well, we have our regional managers that make sales calls to the higher dollar clients. And they have a really good overview of how to have a very good conversation with the customer and makes them look very informed. Not that they're not to begin with, but it just the better we can make the sales team look, the better it is for everybody.
So in your line of business, which is actually quite special, actually. What are the main challenges that you are seeing there that the CRM system, a CRM system,
Solves or causes?
That's not the cause.
Well, not a direct cause of the CRM, but having a CRM in there, we find getting the information in there. We find the salespeople are probably the largest group that want to contribute least to the data that we're collecting on the customer, to where the other entities within there, our underwriting department, our back offices, are more willing to put information in there.
Expect them to.
They're going to input data. But where that is change coming up here again with AI is they can see the value of what they're doing. They're getting something back out of it finally that can be used. We always tell them, well, you've got these reports, you've got these dashboards, go look at that, do a review. Nobody wants to do that. But if you can give them a quick summary, they're happy.
So what is the change caused by AI in particular?
Yeah,
Okay, so they're getting more
engagement and adoption. Engagement and adoption. We've increased our adoption rate at the management level to 100%. And the sales are up there. We've got them up right now since we started implementing the new process when we started rolling the AI out, gone from about 60% of the sales side and some regions that weren't fully participating because taking a step back, we're a startup, we're a 14-year-old company. So we started out, everybody kind of doing their own thing, to we're now transitioning more to an enterprise company that we need everybody on the same page. And the CRM lets us do that and brings everybody together to do that. But the mountain, back again to the AI, the mountains of data that's there, nobody wants to sift through, just like they did the reports and dashboards. It's too much. Well, now when we get this one little piece, it tells me just what I need to know about this. They're happy. And now they're willing to do that, and they can see that I'm getting something out of this. I'm not just wasting my time at the end of the day. And
just for context, how many people are we talking about?
Just in the sales team or everybody overall that's using it?
Your choice.
Overall sales team, we've got sales and managers probably close to 120. And then we get close up to about 180 to 200 when we start bringing other back office and other people into that. We've got an agent base of about 1,800, that are resell agents. And then our other division, our lender services division, they've probably got another, 500 customers that they service on a much larger level.
So big enough that 100% figure would be difficult to achieve, but you've got it.
We've got it as far as at the management level, because they've all bought into this. They see the value in this. And now it's just a matter of convincing some of those, hardcore, dyed-in-the-wool salespeople that this is a good tool. And they're starting to see that as we progress, and they see what their peers are getting out of it without a lot of work on their part to input this data, because it's so easy to input information into the system.
Turning it a little around. So now you have the system of some vendor. We won't disclose that we are at the Sugar Summit here. What are your expectations towards a vendor of business software? Not in particular CRM software, but also when you get some backend systems, your underwriting systems, and other systems. So all of them do some job for you, hopefully. And all of them are implemented by some vendor plus partner, probably.
Well, actually, we actually work directly with Sugar. So the vendors that we've had, they acquired the vendors, so we kind of, melded into all that. So they've been very supportive of what we do. But when we're looking for vendors and that to help us with things, we want to make sure that they understand our industry. And they're not trying to give us something that we don't need or show us a bunch of shiny objects. Oh, look what you can do here. Look what you can do here. How is this going to help? So we need to know how it's going to help us and how it's going to help our team.
Okay. So why then Sugar? Not just because they are sweet people? But...
No. In the beginning with Sugar, because, we looked at several things. And when I started with WFG, when the company was just being formed, I was in there 2-3 years after they had started. They were already on their third CRM. And it, and coming from the background I had as another underwriter and what we had built there, it's like, guys, it's not, the CRM's not bringing any value that you got to the customer or to the salespeople, the sales force, the managers, and you're putting unrealistic expectations on it, and you're interrupting how their workflow goes. So Sugar gave us the flexibility to build a system that integrated directly into the Salesforce. So we didn't put a product in it that was burdensome to them. It gave them information from the beginning.
Okay.
And the ability to customize that and not wait on a vendor to do it and give us what they thought they wanted was huge.
Looks like Ralph has a question.
Yeah, question from my end, and I try to make myself not only heard but also visible in the way of the distance. The question which arose is when you describe the sales are love to use what's in the system, but they are a bit resistant to key in and put in some of the data. How do you motivate them to change their attitude a bit?
Well, there's two ways to do that. One is the more direct approach to where, and this is something our CEO had told a bunch of salespeople many years ago. They got hung up on, I'm not giving you my information to the company. And it's like, look, we already have more information on the customer than you do, so you're doing yourself a disservice by not contributing to do that. We already have this information. We don't need your information. What we need your information for is to help you grow your book of business. And that we do, then put that in there to do that. And I think by showing them the value that they can get out of it, especially when you have newer, hungry salespeople come in and they start taking advantage and they start using these tools at a higher level than some existing salespeople might have, that also will stimulate activity.
Okay.
So it's tough, but it's there. And in the real estate business, salespeople are tough to deal with sometimes, and they're loyal out the window real quick. So that's what a lot of times you fight is, within the industry, and they go in spurs. So it's just a matter of just keeping them focused, and you always want to keep the best people there, and you can't sometimes force them. You have to go use this or you're going to get fired. Nobody's ever going to get fired for not using a CRM. But if you don't have the activity in the CRM and your book's down, there's other things to look at.
Well, there was one system I found very interesting, to say so politely, is if you did not put your data into the CRM, you wouldn't get your bonuses. And which makes a salesman run if the money is melting down, even after he had done a good job. So that was one thing. And the other is that you had some people to help him to get data in or use smart tools such in the old days, business card scanner, or somebody which is going more and more into the direction of artificial intelligence, helping hands and the little magic Merlins, which ease their way to get what they would like to have into the database, into there, with less effort.
That's a good point, because I'll challenge users from time to time on that. I wish I had somebody go put this in. And it's like, well, the amount of time it would take you to get it out of your head, tell somebody else what to do, it's so simple, you just put it in yourself. And if they're already going into the system, that kind of goes back to the training thing, which has always been a struggle in training people post-COVID, is everything happens on Zoom. If you can't get into a room and work with people one-on-one, you don't know how well they're going to grasp it. So it's just, just getting into the system. So we start by getting them into the system and look at what's in there and coming out. Now they're more likely to start putting more in because they're going to get more.
Yeah.
So now we have done 3 implementations at WFG.
4 actually. Yes.
So with each and any one, you learned something. So now, if you were in the need to do a 5th one, what would you do differently? Limit the amount of data that we put in front of them to begin with. When we first roll these out, a lot of times you'll go through, you'll talk to the business or different business entities. What do you need in the CRM? What can we provide for you? What data you need? What division, what do you need over here? And put it all in there. Before you know it, you end up with so much information that it's overwhelming to look at. Okay. So a lot of times it's like, start out simple. Start with the basics and then go from there. Don't make it so complicated at the beginning, because even though I've got an engineering background and an IT, it's easy for me to grasp that.
But somebody that's not, that technology driven,
Yeah.
they're only going to be able to grasp what they know about in their head today, what they can take off their legal pad or notes and translate that into the CRM and then build on it.
Okay.
And we actually did some of that when we went from the cloud. We went from an on-prem instance for a number of years and then migrated to the cloud, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. And when we did that, we had that opportunity to strip it back a little bit and get all of this noise out of there.
For the sake of time, and last but not least, and as we are here with SugarCRM, now you chose Sugar for a good reason, but every and any vendor, well, none of them is perfect. Well,
Yeah, sure.
none is perfect. So there's probably this one thing that you ever wanted to get, but never did. What would this be?
Well, say if it was what might we have we've never had versus it's kind of those two different questions, because of being a customer of Sugar for 8 or 9 years, we've seen it. We had a really large list in version 6.5. Now with version 14, that list is almost non-existent.
Okay. I would have expected it's going longer because our demands are increasing as well.
Well, they are, but our demands are consistently being met, and a lot of times we find one thing will lead into another. We might have a product there or something that Sugar can do that we haven't utilized ourselves, especially in market that we grow into. But what this has done, if you sit out there and you talk about if we had one wish, and I look at everything that AI can do and is doing for us now that we've seen from when we started in opportunities with the initial generative AI project to now where we're bathing at the accounts level, is to take it one step farther from that accounts level and then be able to analyze a book of business or a region of business or sale overall for positive and negative, because it can do all that. So we're looking at it one-on-one, which is great. But to look at it overall, that would be the next big thing, because to be able to analyze that would be incredible.
Cool.
So
That's an honest answer.
So,
And
thanks, John, for this. This was great information. It was not only for our audience, but also for the Sugar people who are listening in right now.
Bated breath.
Which actually brings me over to introducing you to Paul Farrell in a second. Ralph, say some warm words. I go on mute here as well for a second to make an internal communication.
Okay. What is now happening is that we are in one room. We have some challenge on getting that all sorted in the experimental phase. And now we will switch over to Paul Farrell, whom we are very happy to have him here live for you as well on the show. As the Chief Product Officer, there is a lot of, you could say, stuff on his shoulders, such as the expectations, the wishes from the customers. If he is not Merlin, but he is Paul, so wonders might take more than a minute, but it is very interesting and cool to have him aboard and can ask him live and in color, such as where he is moving forward, what are his expectations, why did he start the job in Sugar, for instance. So enough of my warm words.
Let's bring it on then. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Very well. Thank you for the invite. I'm glad to be here in sunny, but a bit chilly San Diego with everyone. So, very excited.
Marshall is still wearing a t-shirt, so he's like,
I know, I'm impressed because I'm a bit shivery.
He's tougher than I.
Yeah, and me. And I'm from Minneapolis, so where it's minus 30 the last few days. So.
This should be outside. This is fun.
I know. I should be enjoying it.
Yeah. So welcome for joining us in here. So you are with Sugar now for a year or something?
Coming up to a year in about a month and a bit's time. Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel as though I've been here forever, but yes, just coming up on a year.
So time tempos too good. Yeah. So looking at the general topic, so we are having with a lot of major trends in the enterprise software arena right now. But two of them are industry focused. AI. Everybody does AI. So now, in times of constrained capacities, constrained resources, lack of personnel, well, everybody has some budgetary constraints too. Which one is more important if you can't do both at the same time?
Well, I think,
or you can, maybe.
I think for me, and one of the reasons that I got attracted to Sugar is that they wanted to focus on industries and really drive that ahead. And so that's been my background for the last, unfortunately, over 30 years now. I used to say over 20 years, and then I realized no, it's over 25 years, and now I'm having to say over 30 years. So, see, a lot of evolution of technology, but to me, it's all about industry. Technology is all about being applied to provide industry differentiation. So when people, connect up to the system, they see something that's been uniquely designed for them, that they think is going to help them do their job more effectively. And it's going to drive their success within their industry. So rather than a blank sheet of paper or a blank set of technology, it's all about industry. Now that does not mean that AI is not important, because AI is vitally important. But again, if you look at the landscape today, there's a lot of feeling out there. I have to do something. If I'm a company, I have to do something with AI because my competitors are. And all I'm hearing is AI and AI. So a lot of companies want the technology, but the reality of it is what's going to make it believable and understandable for them is when they see it in the context of how they want to do business. But I've, as I said, I've been in this industry for an awful long time, and and certainly with intelligence, it's one of the most fascinating. I would say it's been more hyped than blockchain. I think blockchain was one of the most hyped technologies that didn't deliver, but AI is delivering. But I see a lot of demonstrations from technology providers that say, they'll have an assistant say, make me more revenue. Okay, generate you more revenue. It's like, well, what is happening in the background? People don't believe that because they're just seeing technology, but not applied to that industry. So when I look at what we're delivering with machine learning, AI, and generative AI, are things that are all about helping industries make more of their assets and seeing how it's actually going to drive them benefits. The other thing with technology as well, and when I say it's got to be applied to the industry, and I think I was talking earlier on today, and I talked about EDI. EDI is a 30 to 40-year-old technology, fixed lens, fixed character lens, all to do with trading, etc. And there's been about 10 evolutions of where EDI is going to disappear. Commerce, the internet, buying hubs, all these other things we're going to get rid of it. But today in automotive and retail, 75% of transactions still go through EDI networks. And it's because it's in the DNA of that industry. So in order to replace that technology, you need to apply it to that DNA so they can make use of it. So that's why I think industry trumps all. And if you have something that is industry focused, it also drives simplicity and it drives direction. Rather than seeing 1,000 fields for your industry, it's these three things that are important and making that simple and applied. So to me, it's definitely industry is the trump card.
Trump card is my buzzword or my jump to action, such as I would love to know, out of curiosity, because we haven't met before, which is a bit your background in these last 25 years when you have been in the industry. In what kind of industries? Was it also with software vendors, or have you been on the customer side?
So the majority of my career has been in the software industry, and I've done really everything from support, custom programming, project management, pre-sales, sales, marketing, product marketing, development. I predominantly spent my time with product marketing and product management and development. That's what I've spent a long time with. A big chunk of that was in manufacturing and distribution. So I did an awful lot of work. I remember one of the first projects I ever worked on was building an order promising system for a custom furniture company. So I've seen technology evolve substantially through that time.
Yeah.
And I've been in companies that I've always been involved with, with growth. So I spent a long time with Epicor Software. Started off in one of their early derivatives, where they're about 10 million in revenue, and left them when they were $1 billion in revenue. And more recently, I was with Oracle NetSuite, helping drive their product marketing, their industry product management, and I sort of joined them, and they were 6,000 or 7,000 customers. And when I left, they were about 40,000 customers. So, going through that growth, and in actual fact, in a lot of these companies, it was what really led to that great growth was that focus around industry and applying technology to that. And it's funny, there are technologies that have been around a long time that are still not properly utilized. We think about companies using AI and machine learning, but I think business intelligence, I remember when it's called executive information systems, and then business intelligence. Companies have still not got good data islands that are accurate that they can utilize. Companies are beginning to see that data is a primary asset of theirs that needs to be protected and more optimally used. So so my background is mainly been on the software provider side, and really across all industries: manufacturing, distribution, software services, high tech, professional services, financial services, and dealing with CRM, ERP, HRM across the gambit of solutions. So,
thanks for sharing.
Cool. Couple of very interesting points that might be a bit of contradicting each other, actually. So let me yank your chain a little, which is that's what I like. One of my favorite things to do.
I'm from a large family and I'm Scottish. We like to argue.
So you put an unequivocal emphasis on industry. Now, you also said that data is not so good, and that they should use it better. Now, this is the forte of AI. Now, is AI then a boon or a bane for industry-specific software?
I think it's an absolute boon. I mean, I think it's going to make a massive difference, and I just see it with some of our recent developments using AI technology. And I just think about generative AI solutions, and it was mentioned a bit earlier, our case summarization, our opportunity summarization, and our account summarization technology. And what it does very well is, irrespective of that data source, it brings it up, it gives it structure and describes it. So I think of my own journey within Sugar. When I first arrived and I've been asked to help out on an opportunity, I'd go into the CRM system and I'd look at the opportunity, and depending on who the salesperson is, where they entered notes or where they updated a field or what needed to happen next or what was the most important thing, there was different nuance around that. But almost at the time I started, we put out internally, because we use our own software, our opportunity summarization technology. So immediately I would go in with no training and I could see exactly what was going on in that opportunity. It described it to me in a way that I understood everything that was going on, irrespective of where it came from. And it'll find the important, pertinent things that might be overlooked because it's in a note rather than in a field or rather than a status, and it drives that up. So what we found when utilizing it is, for people like me, it managed to get me up to speed with the system and be an important power user, driving great information from the system very, very quickly, because it was very good at looking at lots of different data sources. But the other thing that was incredible about it as well is our experienced salespeople who had been using the product an awful long time, they found a whole set of strategies and other things they hadn't even thought about on opportunities they were dealing with, and the generative AI technology allowed them to do that. So I think I think the real big thing that is going to crush straight away is taking multiple disparate data sources and making sure you understand everything that's going on. And we're seeing that happen right away, certainly with the technologies that we're providing. And I think for customers and end users, unlike a lot of technology, which is exceptionally, the real sophisticated stuff is generally very difficult to configure, and it's complex to configure, even though it delivers a huge amount of value. I think this is one of the technologies that with very simple or almost no configuration by the user, they're going to get exceptional value. So I think it's a massive boon to the industry. And in actual fact, and in a complementary way, one of the things that we're certainly seeing with AI is it's streamlining and it's allowing people to enable some of the most sophisticated functionality a lot easier, rather than having to be a power user or a technical user in order to configure it. So what's really nice, and I'm a big manufacturer and distribution guy by heart, and a big lean Toyota production system value-focused person. What's great about AI, and I think over the next few years, is the person that needs the value, which is a salesperson or the sales leader or whatever else, when they need that analytic or they need that capability, rather than going through an intermediate to get them to configure it, they'll be able to do that themselves. So the time to value will increase substantially. And we're seeing that with some of the prototyping and other things that we're doing with generative AI and agentic AI that's really streamlining that. So we're going to see companies that would love to use functionality, but it might be a 6-month configuration or setup, they're going to be able to utilize that far more effectively. And my dream is the person that wants it, the person that wants to use it, is the person that will be able to enable it and configure it accurately, all within the constructs of the company, but they'll be able to get that value themselves. That's my dream. And I think it's a realistic dream with some of the newer technology.
The power and value that you can get from AI, how does that juxtapose against privacy and other regulations regarding it, regarding individual data and any new laws that may govern the use of AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the advantages for us being in the CRM space is we're used to protecting data and individuals. So it's something that's in the DNA. That doesn't mean that it's a slam dunk for certainly generative AI. But one of the things that we did before we built any of the applications on top was putting that complete security layer in. So it anonymizes things. When it sends it into the large language model, we control all of that. It doesn't go into the public domain. So we protect all that. So there's a whole lot of things that are that we have that are that should allow companies with certainty to know that they're going to be protected. So that's one part, and that's a very technical part of it. But I think that gets in the way as well. Is I think there's a general fear with companies, and they might sometimes overanalyze how are we going to protect our data. We don't want to switch on generative AI. We don't want to switch on these other things because what's going to happen with our data? Because we've seen that in some industries. One of our big industries is wholesale distribution. And in that industry, they have opened up channels, through Amazon or through some of these other big sellers. And unfortunately, what happens is those, people like Amazon, those big retailers, they capture all your knowledge of how you sell your products, how your customers buy. Then they take that over and then they bypass your channel altogether. So people have a fear about that, and it's a rational fear. But I think there's been a lot of work by the providers like us and the LLM providers as well to think about how people can be certain and how they're going to be protected. I think there's another area though that's evolving right now because we're right in the beginning of it. So, and there's some uncertainty. What we're starting to see is companies are, and I mentioned this before, are seeing data as an asset. And we're seeing in some industries, like in financials with banks, want software vendors to say, you're not going to take any information from us electronically and put it in an LLM model. You're not going to do that. You have to, if you're going to take our stuff electronically, you have to say you're not doing it. So businesses are starting to protect their data and want to know if they're sending it electronically to someone else, where they're putting it, so that they're keeping control of that asset. So I think there's a lot of unknowns, I think, which will rapidly resolve themselves. But I think the core security piece is most people should be fairly rest assured, and they should have their vendor explain it to them properly, because most have really thought about it extensively, particularly in our space. But I think also people should really think about their data, who they're sharing it with, because you might be saving 5 minutes today by sharing it with someone else, but you might be giving away your secret sauce. We've seen this again in manufacturing, been in that business a long time. As people have focused on value, some manufacturers have seen that their actual differentiator is how they market, sell, and engineer the product. It's not how they manufacture or ship it. So they outsource all of that, and they focus on that piece. So people really need to know where their differentiation is and make sure that they're protecting that. So I think it'll sort itself out over the next. I think the next couple of years as it matures. But there's a lot of things at this moment in time are either unknown or they're misunderstood, and people are just getting to grips with all of that technology.
There is a kind of a corollary with AI and data. So as you said, well, data is not so good. The quality of the data is not so good. And well, with AI, especially with AI, there is this applicable word of rubbish in, rubbish out. I mean, you won't get good inference, good quality recommendations, good quality next best actions out of your data, or even a good summary out of the data, if the data is, well,
shitty,
utterly wrong. So how do you look at dealing with this situation, apart from, as John said a little bit earlier, motivate your people to input the right data, or input data at all, do it right, or well, get automated data, or get data input automated?
I think it's a multifaceted attack to do it. One, you have to build a seller experience where people want to use the system because it drives their own personal success, not their manager's success. The company drives their personal success, and people use it. Something that they want to use, and something that captures the context and what they're doing automatically, rather than having to retype it or even copy and paste it. So that seller experience is key. And if it's done contextually at the time it's happening, then it will work. So for example, if you're on a telephone call with a prospect or a customer, capturing all of that information as it's spoken, understanding the sentiment, all those types of things means that information is accurate. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is in one of the areas that we really focus on is sales intelligence, revenue intelligence. And one of our sort of secret sources is this ability to take multiple different data sources, generally from transactional systems like ERP or financial systems, whatever else, and clean that, bring that in to a normalized standard solution that has a clean, that can then, we can drive AI and ML models against it to then go and look at how that's going to make sense for customers. So we sort of clean that and make sure that's clean. And I think a lot of companies right now are either at the end or they're starting off in producing customer data platforms or warehouses that have clean information that the business knows it can make decisions on. So the further you are along that journey, then the more impactful that AI, machine learning, and generative AI are going to be. But it is a multifaceted thing, and you should ask your software vendor how they're going to help do that as well. Now, it's interesting. One of the comments earlier was, in simplicity over sophistication, and I'm a big believer. Simplicity and performance trump everything. That's you have that, it trumps everything. And I think too often when people are implementing systems, it's like, do you want this? Well, of course I want this. I want everything. Do you want this? Yeah, I want that as well. So you end up with these big, huge systems that sometimes 30% of it is to solve a problem that you had in your old system that actually might not even be an issue in the new system. And you start capturing all of this other data that actually you don't need. It doesn't drive differentiation, it doesn't drive benefits. So again, I think going into anything with the concept of simplicity and getting rapid return on investment, and then adding to it as you go, rather than trying to do a big bang and do everything up front, I think again helps for the cleanliness of data. And that's nothing new. That's something that, again, in my 30 years has been, I've seen the people that go after rapid return on investment, simplicity rather than complexity, I think have cleaner data and get a quicker return on investment. And I always give the remote control analogy. You know, if I'm going to buy a remote control, and I love technology, I like techie things, and if I'm going to buy a remote control, I want the most sophisticated remote control that's got every button on it and does everything. But the reality of it is, when I get it, I just want one with 4 big buttons because that's all I ever use. And if actually, in fact, if I went to select it on the best one that has the 4 big buttons, then I would have had a far better experience going forward, rather than one that I have to take off my glasses to see where the important thing is, this tiny button on the left-hand side. It's you know, and this is the thing about AI and technology and all these other things. When you throw humans into the mix, it doesn't always work out. It doesn't always work out that well. We have a way of screwing things up or putting barriers in the way that make it tricky. So I think we're going to be required for a long time to sort out ourselves. So
here's a rub with regards to enterprise software and AI. So what we see, it's a platform, and generative AI or AI in general just accelerated. We are seeing that for quite some time. So which brings a problem for, let's say, our challenge for, let's say, for smaller and specialist vendors. Like a platform play sees a winner and a bunch of losers. Maybe a winner and a half. Yes, a big one, a second one, and a bunch of not so big ones. So how can a specialist vendor like Sugar, for example, navigate this and stay successful and not be pushed aside by the sheer gravity of platform systems?
that has been the case since, again, the beginning of time with solutions.
Yeah.
And I think specialization and focus, providing real rapid return on investment and applied technology, I think rules the day all the time. So again, if you look at, if it was the case of the big platform vendors would control everything, then there'd only be ERP software from Oracle or Microsoft. And that's just how it would be, because they own all the platform, they own all the technology, they actually own the, you know, Office applications, these other things. That's not the case, because they don't provide that industry specific or that task specific capabilities that people like Sugar will, and our other similar companies out there. And I think the other thing is Thomas, is what is new technology and differentiating soon becomes commodity, and everyone utilizes it. And the platform players, they offer that platform to other people. So when we've constructed our generative AI model, we can switch in and out any of the platform players that sit beneath it. That's why the news that came out of China this week is not a problem for us, because we can very easily switch out our AI modeling system underneath that we plug into. So it's about utilizing that platform, and for us, it's providing business-specific applications on top of it, and not trying to recreate the wheel. I mean, you think years ago, lots of companies would sell their own data warehousing system. You know, an ERP provider would, or Sugar would, but companies don't want to buy that from us. They want to buy Power BI, or they want to, you know, Oracle Analytics Cloud or another cloud, and build then content on top of that that's specific. They don't want us spending, and we don't want to spend thousands of person hours building out technology when we can get technology where people are focused on adding value to it. We want to add the value on top of it. So I don't think it'll make any difference. And this has happened. This has happened for many, many years. As a matter of fact, when I first started in the industry, people would buy hardware and the software would come with it. Which is the ultimate platform play. The hardware was the differentiating element. And almost within the first 2 years I was in the industry, it changed. Hardware was an irrelevant commodity, no one cared, and it was all about the solution on top of it. We saw the same thing with database technology. Database, do you run on SQL Server? Do you run on Oracle? Do you run on DB2? I'm going to choose a solution based on that database technology that the product's written in. Soon becomes a commodity, no one cares. Matter of fact, I bet there's some products out there that people might think are modern products that are running on CI/SAM or other things underneath it because no one sees that beneath it. So it's just where it is in the overall life cycle, and I think there will always be room for those companies that have real value and real specificity on what they're delivering to their customers.
Now, so specialization and adding value is key. So for smaller ones, for specialists. So looking at the same situation, there are some topics that pretty much everyone needs to cover. Be them industry-specific vendors, or horizontal vendors, or in between. So now, like Agentic AI, which is just name a buzzword right now. Is it wise or wiser in your eyes to just follow the stream, swim with the other fish, or swim against the stream? Basically shrug off the hype or stand out via a very different method.
And
I think
one add-on to Thomas, I would like to add, please, is disrupt in the way such as is a big vendor you did not mention with 3 letters when you mentioned Microsoft, Oracle, and SAP, where they have their strategies, they have the industry focus, they have the other stuff, but they are quitting their classical client-server-based CRM. And you have the capability to assist here and become best friends of those people which love to live on their ECC 6.0 ERP. Yeah, that's an important thing and a benefit. Not only that you get Mr. Stutz on your board. Yeah.
Yes. No, agreed. And I think you can only swim against the stream so much if you are an accredited thought leader in the space. And even some of the biggest people have struggled with that. I mean, just look at SAP with the rewrite of the new database technology, which was going to save the world. They sort of amplified that more than, we provide the best business applications in the world that run the best businesses, that type of thing. And so you've got to be careful in doing it. In the same way, you have to think about how you differentiate. You have to, how you are going to stand out. So if something is key in an industry that everyone wants it, or it needs to be a checkbox, then you have to show how you're going to utilize that and how you're going to drive value differently for your particular prospect or your customer. So it goes hand in hand. And I would say with Sugar, we're not against any of that where the industry is going in that bus, because a big chunk of it is true. It is going to revolutionize some elements of software, and we're seeing that already. But we want to be able to utilize that and provide it within a specific business context for the markets that we go after. So again, people can see how it's going to be utilized for them. Now, some of the big messages from 10,000 foot is going to completely revolutionize the software industry. Well, I think it might completely evolutionize the software industry because it's been rapidly evolutionized for years. As I said, when I first started, if you wanted to add a field to a screen, you had to go and edit the program. You go and do print at 40, 22, go on, the prompt, and then input what's needed. Then you would have to do all of that type of thing. Now, virtually anyone within Sugar who want to add a field to a form if they have the security to do it. It wouldn't take any technology. So we've seen evolution across the board, and I think it will be still evolutionary. It might be a bit quicker in some aspects, but I still think it will be evolutionary. But we definitely don't want to swim against the stream, because some streams are where everything is going. Sometimes it's a tributary that that goes off that actually leads to a dead end. And I think blockchain as a global technology that everyone has to use was one of those technologies that wasn't the case. There's some specific use cases that's outstanding, but it's not something that someone's going to go and re-architect their ERP system set on a blockchain database. I mean, it's just not. Where's the value for the end user? There might be some, but where's the extreme value? So I think it's a balance, and I know it's a bit of this and a bit of that answer, but I think it is when it comes to this.
I think blockchain is an interesting topic. To me, that's a solution in search of its problem. But that's not much that it solves that wasn't solved before in a more efficient way, in terms of more cost-effective way. But that leads into actually a SQL, not a SQL server, but a SQL story number 2. So I mean, we have heard a guy who happens to be the CEO of one of the largest software companies on this planet.
I think you can name them.
He's called Satya Nadella. Says something that amounts to SaaS is dead. Which he basically, well, it's of course an exaggerated statement that was brought on by pundits. But what he essentially said is that in his view, the architecture of software will just totally change. So now, and then you have on the other side a person joining your board who basically said there is no smart application around. Applications need to become smart. So if you combine that, how do you see that software architecture, enterprise software architecture will change?
So I think with everything, what is difficult will always be difficult. But what can be done easily, that barrier moves all the time. As I said, adding a field to a screen 30 years ago was a complex task that needed a programmer to do it and deploy it and manage it. So what's difficult is, and that will continue till the end of time. It might go a bit quicker in certain steps, but I just think back when he was going to move all of Microsoft to the cloud, and you think, well, how are they going to get off the desktop and into the cloud, particularly the Office products, which was so intensive, client-based products. They did a great job of that, but you still want to do real clever things. You don't do it in the browser, you do it on the client, and you do it on the Windows, the Windows operating system. So everything's not in the cloud yet, where the only client you have is Edge or Chrome, or etc. So I think what will happen is it will definitely become easier to do things, and we're at the edge of it. So who knows how long that will take or where it will be? But at this moment in time, we're still not there. And you have to say there are technologies, as I mentioned before, business intelligence technologies, data warehousing technologies, analytics technologies that have been around for some time, and many companies are still struggling to get them utilized properly within their organizations. So I think it's going to make what's difficult easier on a number of areas, but there'll still be some areas that will be problematic, and it'll be because not everything is on the latest technology platform. I mean, when I in a previous organization, I had we were maintaining products that hadn't been sold in 15 years. that run on hardware that when we had to do something, we had to get hardware at the loft and then realize it didn't work and then realize we were paying more in maintenance. We would have bought 10 of these machines and we were paying a mix. So people move very, very slowly. I go back to the EDI example. I mean, if you just look at accounting software, software is based on principles that have been around for 1,000, 2,000 years. The ledger and the double entry and all of those other types of things. There are probably better ways of doing all of that today, but the millions of accountants that are running it want to see it laid out in that ledger way, because that's what they're dealing with. So it's a balance of all of these things. So I think it's definitely going to make a big difference. And it might be 100 years, it might be 50 years, it might be 20 years that it changes. But I think because everyone's in so many different versions, it's strange. Just another example of that. Remember, my son worked for a company, and they have this modern product. I won't tell you what industry they're in because there's not many companies in that industry. But their technology required Internet Explorer. Now, this is only 2 years ago that Internet Explorer has been dead. But one of the things that Internet Explorer was one of the most sophisticated browsers in the world, because it allowed people to convert products that were traditionally client-server, and it would handle state and all these other things. So you could be halfway through a program on a server, pause, send out to IE, and IE would then answer the question, then it could go back to that point so it would carry on. While all browsers are stateless, at this moment in time. So, and what I said to him is, well, it's obviously an old-fashioned application, but the users all think it's new. So even things that are brand new that people are selling, it's amazing how many other pieces of technology can be sitting underneath there that are going to stop, the dream of where they're going. But it's definitely what's difficult is going to become a lot easier. And as I said, there's going to be a lot of tasks that would require experts or power users or people that have been trained up for years to do things that are going to be, at the time to value is going to be absolutely crushed. And I think it will help there, but I don't think it will destroy software as we know it at this point.
Well, unlike the famous Salesforce symbol about no software.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, as you get older, you realize there's nothing new under the sun.
No.
Everything is.
Yeah, still the idea is quite intriguing that and software, well, it's kind of a new version of what I would dub a new version of microservices architecture. Now replace microservice with agent.
Yeah.
So basically you have a composition of more or less independent pieces of software, call them agents, that via one way or another collaborate. And that if that emerges, this could mean a totally different paradigm of building software.
I hope so. I hope that does emerge. It says nothing more difficult. It says difficult today to have solutions talking to each other as it was 20 years ago. In some ways, it's more difficult. But if you think of these great iPasses that are out there that allow you to integrate, through workflows and other things, one piece of software to another. In some ways, what might take 50 different, processes to do in an iPass, you could do in 3 lines of code. So which one's easier to maintain? Whatever. Even one's old-fashioned and one's new. So I genuinely think it's going to help automate that. But again, I still think we're some time away from the dream. And I don't know if he put a timeline on it, but it's definitely going to help. That anything is me as far as someone who manages product, anything that can solve that is more than welcome for me. And it's an area that we actually spend a lot of time on. Is integration, because again, we want to bring external information into our CRM so that we can drive sales intelligence from it, which can then drive tactics and other people use. So integration is a massive part of our solution, and it's tough sometimes.
Well, we are starting to run short on time, and it would be remiss of me to let you go without trying to get you into a little trouble. You've got a brand new CEO in David Roberts and a high octane new board member in Bob Stubbs. How's this going to affect you? How do you think it's going to affect Sugar? What are your expectations?
Well, David had been working with some time, and David is really focused, and he's bringing a rigor and a direction to the business, which is refreshing. So, and one of the things again I found in a long time in executive positions and organizations is lots of people don't like to make decisions, and people want everyone to agree in order to move forward. And sometimes whenever you don't want everyone to agree, some healthy conflict's good. And David, I think, thinks that way. So he's already made some great strides in making changes that we've talked about for quite some time. He's executed that, and I think he will drive a vibrant SugarCRM over the next couple of years. So I'm quite excited with it. And what's nice is he's challenging in a good way. It's not just a case of, he talked about it earlier today. It's not just a case of, saying we're going to do this. He wants to see how that's going to actually be executed through the organization. And he wants every element of the organization connected. So from what the strategy is from the board all the way to the engineer in the desk, they want everyone to understand what they're doing and how it's impacting the business positively. So people know what they're doing, the value it's adding, etc. So I think that's quite exciting. And I think what's exciting about Bob coming in, again, I think it will be challenging. But what I like about it is, again, getting someone who is so knowledgeable about this industry and understands so many people within the industry, and is understand good and wrong ways things have happened in the past. And I think bringing that level of expertise and I think is going to substantially help us move forward as well. And as you probably get from me, I like discussing things. I like vigorous. I like vigorous disagreement as long as it's constructive moving forward, because it generates a far more vibrant company. The more people you know that have a good, solid opinion, and as long as we're all focused on moving in the right direction, which everyone is, it's going to be quite exciting. So that hopefully doesn't get me into trouble.
I don't think so.
I think it's a very solid answer. And I think we're going to leave it there. So that's the convo for today. It's been a great one. Sorry for any technical difficulties you may have seen coming from my end. My computer is a bit of a potato sometimes. But thank you to Paul Farrell and John Williams both for your time, your insight, your entertaining and clever perspectives on what's going on with sugar and the industry at large. Thanks to our audience for putting up with us, and tune in next week as the CRMKonvo's roadshow continues. We'll be reporting live from Zoho Day 2025 with our guests Raju Vegesna and Vijay Sundaram. Hopefully you'll be able to join us for that.
I thought.
Cheers.